Following commentary. We are exploring listening to albums. It is a lost art form. We took an hour out of our day. We switched off the phones. We switched off the computers. We did not answer the door. We sat down and we listened to the artist's vision and concept. Michael Jackson, Thriller. The world's best-selling album was recorded between April the 14th and November the 8th, 1982 at Westlake Recording Studios in Los Angeles. It was Michael Jackson's sixth studio album and was released on the 30th of November 1982. Produced by Quincy Jones, the album's budget was $750,000. The period leading up to the recording of Thriller had been one of transition for Michael. He felt undervalued by the music business and disappointed by the 20 million sales of Off the Wall, the previous album. Thriller reached number one in the UK and the US, Italy, France, Austria, Holland, Australia, and Canada, number 2 in Germany, and number 6 in Japan. 43 people are credited as personnel on the album, including Paul McCartney, sisters LaToya and Janet Jackson, Eddie Van Halen, Jeff and Steve Porcaro from Toto, to name but a few. The cover is iconic. Gold writing, the white suit and black shirt, the tiger cub on the knee when you open the gatefold, and let's not forget Michael's hair, which would have been an absolute game changer in how people wanted to present themselves in the post-disco 1980s. The label for the record was Epic, CBS, and Michael Jackson is known to have said that he wanted to be the biggest and wealthiest star in show business. He also said that he had been told continuously that black people on the cover of magazines don't sell copies. Just wait. Someday those magazines are going to be begging me for an interview. For those of us who don't know, Michael Joseph Jackson was born on August 29, 1958 in Gary, Indiana, to Joe and Catherine Jackson. With his elder brothers, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon, he was propelled to international stardom as part of the Jackson 5. His solo career started at a tender age while he was at Motown Records. He was married twice, once to the daughter of Elvis, Lisa Marie Presley, and then to an American nurse who mothered 2 of Jackson's 3 children. The awards and accolades are endless. 13 Grammys, 26 American Music Awards, the most ever, including Artist of the Century and Artist of the 80s, sales of over 350 million records worldwide. Tremendous success in his service as a performer, though, behind the scenes was sadness and emotional difficulties. There was a perceived identity crisis between MJ and a significant amount of his black audience who felt he was lightening his skin and abandoning his roots. This was countered with Michael's admission of having vitiligo. The looks and behavior became stranger and more eccentric. Michael Jackson loved to push the envelope. The problem was, the envelope pushed back, hard and mercilessly. The performer died at just aged 50 on 25th of June 2009 of a cardiac arrest brought on by an array of pain medications while under the care of Conrad Murray, his personal doctor. Of course this intro hasn't said it all. How could it? I have edited in a way that makes sense to me. When Thriller came out, Michael Jackson's moonwalking, singing, and performance were untarnished by bizarreness, misunderstanding, and savage cruelty. Let's review the music of Thriller. Wanna Be Startin' Something. The opening track to Thriller is of course extremely famous. Where were you when you learned how to chant Mama Say Mama Sa Mama Kusa? Released on the 8th of May 1983, it was the 4th single release. Wanna Be Startin' Something was notable for the fact that it did not have a music video to accompany it. The song topped the charts in Canada and Holland, number 3 in Belgium, number 5 in Ireland and America. It reached number 8 in England. My feelings on this track are that this was absolutely the right way to start this new collection of songs. It was energetic and advanced rhythmically. It was odd in a lovable way. You're a vegetable always is the first line I want to sing. The brass is slick and syncopated. It's an evolution from the previous album. As I've matured, I appreciate it more. Lyrically, I tend to dismiss this a little bit. If you can't feed the baby, then don't have the baby is a bit caustic for my tastes. Your imagination runs wild when you think of what the video might have been. Wannabe Starred in Something was nominated for Best R&B Song Grammy in 1984, but sadly it lost to also Sadar Billie Jean. Where there's a hit, there's a writ. Manu Dibango of Cameroon reached his threshold of tolerance and sued both Michael Jackson and Rihanna for lifting his Mama Say Mama Sa Mama Kusa riff from his 1972 song Soul Makasa without permission. The case was settled out of court. Rihanna had asked permission from MJ, apparently. That African chant helped usher in an era of utilizing African musicians in the 1980s, when you think of Malcolm McLaren, Peter Gabriel, and Paul Simon, etc. People at the time swore up and down that Mama Say Mama Sa Mama Kusa was Swahili, yet it was actually derived from the dialect cluster of Douala, which is prominent in Cameroon. Baby Be Mine is my second favorite song on Thriller. It's this genius pop disco R&B song written by Rod Temperton. He wrote Rock With You. That's another one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs. This song floats in the verse. It's dreamy, and then it starts punching out this oxygenated syncopation. The triumph of the brass is continued. Jerry Hay and Bill Reichenbach Jr. providing that brass. Let's talk a little more about Rod Temperton, who was the keyboard player and main songwriter for Heatwave, Boogie Nights, Always and Forever. He was English. He wrote Stomp for Brothers Johnson and George Benson's Give Me the Night and Love Times Love. I would loved this to have been a single. I will never get tired of this. MJ's later work, I will never get tired of this. This song and these collaborations feel so much more full of possibility than MJ's later work. I Can't Be Still, You Thrill Me, Baby Be Mine. Excuse my French, but fucking dynamite. The Girl Is Mine is the first single from Thriller, was not celebrated by all quarters. Coupled with Paul McCartney, it was certainly packed with stratospheric potential, but instead gently and playfully gamboled into the fall of 1982. Following the taut linear nature of the two preceding tracks, I could understand why people might be disappointed with this song. Earlier in the year, McCartney had a number one with Stevie Wonder on Ebony and Ivory. It went to number 2 in the USA. That's The Girl Is Mine went to number 2 in the USA and Norway. Number 4 in Ireland, number 8 in the UK. I much prefer Say 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 from McCartney and Jackson in 1983. It's not so bad. You can understand why they would be excited to work with each other. But for my money, this song hasn't stood the test of time. Neither of them really shine here. Thriller. The title track to this wildly successful album was accompanied by the most extravagant music video to that point. Directed by John Landis, it was a number 1 single in Belgium, Spain, and France, number 3 in Canada, number 4 in Ireland, the Netherlands, and the US, number 6 in New Zealand, 9 in Germany, 10 in the UK. Another song penned by Rod Temperton, Vincent Price performs excellently here. Thriller, though, is a polarizing song. It's huge on the entertainment values, the choreography, the makeup, the sheer scale of how this song's concepts were fleshed out. But it tinkers with something supernatural, and I don't think you can do that and get away with it. The Jehovah's Witnesses booted MJ out of the religion, allegedly. I think this song may have rattled the evil spirits against Michael. No song was given more attention than this one. The next album was called Bad. Yes, I know that bad means good. I'm not Pippi Longstocking. Look at the difference in the album covers. The cover of Bad to me is a ghoulish unreal. On Dangerous, Michael's face is more of a painting than a picture. This song for me is where MJ's sanity starts to keel over. Normality was gone after this song. The music itself, great in parts. I don't enjoy the way the chords juxtapose with the verse. The chorus is adequate. The bass line is the star of this song. My favorite thing vocally is the "Kill here tonight." That's the part that I like, the resolve. True magic. This is close to being one of my least favorite songs on the album. To me, it's more of a collage than a composition. Quincy Jones has recently been slagging off everyone, including MJ, for basically borrowing his best ideas from other people. Thriller was not a new word in terms of hype. Thriller in Manila had been used to promote the third and final face-off between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier in 1975. Thriller describes a horror movie or tense psychological novel. I think we have to be careful about the words we use. At the time, Thriller as a song seemed so fresh and new. Now I'm left with a feeling of it being borrowed and creepy. Beat It. Let's start with the positives, and there are a good number. This was groundbreaking work. It had bona fide pop rock chops. Eddie Van Halen's guitar solo cannot be questioned. I am a big fan of Michael's voice and the melody on the verses. The song could not have been any more contemporary in terms of production, if it tried. The video borrowed from West Side Story heavily, and Michael Jackson's bad dudes never scared me in the same way as soccer hooligans from England did. The audience, of course, loved it. So did the Grammys. They gave it Record of the Year and Best Male Rock Vocal Performance. Eddie Van Halen's guitar solo literally set the monitors on fire in the studio. It was a very successful single, making #1 in 5 countries, top 10 in a further 9. As I continue to review the song, I'm informed that there were real Bloods and Crips in this video, and I would hate for those groups to think that I don't find them scary, because I do. Consider it a retraction. So what is my problem with this song? I don't like the title. It's ambiguous. Are you saying do lash out? Are you saying hit the road? Are you saying bash the bishop? Are you saying overcome the challenge? Are you saying bang your drum? I generally don't like Michael's rockier songs. I couldn't stand Dirty Diana. I didn't like Give In To Me. Of the heavier songs, this is my favorite. But Michael got on my nerves when he kept trying to prove something. Proving your point in this day and age is an epidemic. This song to me swaggers in its packaging successfully, but MJ as this crusader against street violence, as well-intentioned as it was, never resonated with any conviction for me. Before you all have a hissy fit, I am aware that the action of speaking out against violence in the public arena is a noble and altruistic gesture. With the current climate regarding violence being what it is, I will lead by example and shut my mouth on the subject. Billie Jean. How can you not like this as a song? There's a humanity to Michael here that we would come to yearn for. Michael stands accused. And this version of Michael Jackson we were concerned for. This version of MJ we wanted to protect from this awful woman. After all, we'd grown up with this kid performer in his Applejack hat and cartoon brothers. Billie Jean, for me, was the last non-weird single by Michael Jackson. The heterosexuality was convincing, the connection to his African-American roots freely flowing and unimpeded. The melody makes sense. The bass line gathers the audience to the dance floor. The string line is the cherry on the top, as this monster-selling hit once again put Michael Jackson in ground-breaking territory as far as message goes. A video which kids around the world admired. Bound Brook School in New Jersey banned its pupils from wearing a single white glove. We should mention the trouble that CBS Records had in getting MTV to play the video for Billie Jean. It's hard to imagine that at one point MTV were refusing to play the song because it wasn't rocky enough. Walter Yetnikoff, who was president of CBS Records at that time, smelled a rat and threatened to pull all CBS products on the grounds of racial discrimination from MTV. This was the America of 35 years ago. MTV had no choice. They relented and put Michael's tile-illuminating clip into heavy rotation. The result was an additional 10 million album sales for the Thriller album. Let's talk about all the countries that made this a #1 song. Australia, Belgium, Canada, France, Ireland, Italy, Spain, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, and the United States. A #2 hit in Austria, Germany, Holland, New Zealand, South Africa, and Sweden. #3 in Finland and Zimbabwe. #6 in Norway. After Michael died, it went back into the top 10 in 14 countries. The lyric was cohesive and affecting. Today, of course, Billie Jean, the character in this song, is everywhere, accusing everybody and everything of wrongdoing, as they do precisely as they'd like. And that's the one thing about pop culture that sucks, is that when people adopt the characteristics of a bad girl or tough guy, thinking they're cool, but in fact just multiplying immeasurably the innumerable and insufferable deluge of dreadful human beings. Human Nature. My favourite song on Thriller is Human Nature. The perfect 80s synth hook, together with Michael's dreamy ad-libs, makes this the iconic song from this set. I loved it when it was used again for SWV's Right Here. It was not released as a single in the UK, but it would have done really well if it had been. It reached number 3 in Canada and number 7 in the States. It was written by Steve Porcaro from Toto at the same time that mega single Africa was being mixed. John Bettis provided the lyrics. The reason I love it so much? Again, it's that very approachable Michael Jackson. It's not a manipulated head-working concept. It feels free-spirited, and when the record starts, it gives you a real lift. If this city is just an apple, then let me take a bite. It nudged Carousel off the final track set listing, and that was a good thing. This is one of those songs that has the je ne sais pas factor to it. It's pointless me trying to explain why this song is the one, rather like a special person in your life. You can't quite pinpoint why you love it, but you do. And those moments in music and in life are what I live for. I don't do well with contrived and worked at. This gem, Human Nature, is effortless perfection. PYT, Pretty Young Thing, again with the killer bass line. Let's hear it for Louis Johnson, whose vibrant playing is all over this album. The Pretty Young Things on background are Janet and LaToya, together with Becky Lopez and Bunny Hall. This was yet another single from Thriller, and I remember in 1984 being a bit sick of the album by the time this single came out. Ireland made it a number 4 single, Belgium a number 6, and the US a number 10. The digitalized acronyms of PYT and TLC are my favorite part of the song. This song's decent enough. It's on one of my shuffles somewhere, but the truly amazing stuff on this album has played already. I do just want to mention James Ingram, a celebrated vocalist who has presence on this album and on this track playing the Portasound keyboard. James Ingram also wrote PYT with Quincy Jones. The Lady in My Life. The album ends on a soulful R&B note. Don't you go nowhere, rasps Michael at regular intervals. Though this is probably my least favourite track on Thriller, I am glad it's there for other reasons. It has a slick late-night feel, and MJ seems to say, I haven't forgotten who I am, and I haven't forgotten who you are. It's written by Rod Temperton. It's that treasured Michael normalcy. It definitely has its place on this album. It's a nice way to mellow things out following the spectacles we have witnessed on the rest of the album. I have really enjoyed revisiting Thriller and listening to some of Michael Jackson's most memorable and classic material. I think timing was everything when it came to the success of this album. I don't begrudge it a single unit. My only wish is that Michael could have continued to positively evolve rather than so publicly dissolve. Final mark, running commentary album reviews for Thriller, 85%.